All right, and I'm recording our training session now, so we can share this. You can share this with as many people as you would like.
Okay.
So to start off, right now I'm logged in on the back end or the admin side of your site. So this is what you're going to see when you log in. This is what we call our home page or our dashboard page. To get back to this page at any point in time, you would just select the home icon in the top left-hand corner. It's going to bring us right back to where we are now.
Okay.
And you'll notice a couple of different things. So we've got 3 different dashboards that our home page is comprised of. The first is our membership dashboard. It's split out into 2 different sections. So we have our current membership rosters, and we have new members in the last 90 days. Now the current membership rosters are going to show you the 4 different member types that we're going to have. And let me bring up, first of all, let's get some of this going. And I'm going to bring up my MemberClicks test site to kind of help show you what things will start to look like as items populate in or as items are added in. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So underneath this member type side, you're going to see those member types that we have, such as your quarterly students, trimester, faculty, and library. They're all going to fall right under here.
Great.
Then you'll also notice how these are kind of also divided out by status, active, graced, and lapsed. So your members will either be in the active status. Now, after their expiration date has come and passed, whatever grace period we've decided on at that point will be set up, 30 days, 3 months, a year, whatever you have, whatever you've established. And so then they'll fall into their grace period. At that time, they still can log in with their login credentials, but we'll be sending notifications asking them to please pay their dues so that they can continue their membership with you. If they fall out of their grace period and they move into the lapsed period, at this point in time, their membership credentials, login credentials, will no longer work. But we can still send those notifications letting them know that they need to pay their dues.
Right. But you assured us last time when we talked about this that we can change them into
grace and lapse.
into the because again we don't have members per se, but you said we could do that even as a whole group, so we felt good about that.
Yes, that's exactly right. And then you can, like when we talked about, for example, this is the MemberClicks site. If you decided that you wanted to change all of these lapsed members back to active because you know they're fine, then you would just select this number 3. It's going to bring you to your profile list, which hopefully we'll get a chance to review today. And then from here we can tag those profiles that are lapsed, use our actions button in the right-hand corner. Pop up. It's going to pop up any second. And there we go, and we'll just be able to change that status right back to active.
Okay.
It always seems fairly intuitive here, Danielle. Thank you.
Yeah, it does.
Wonderful. I like to hear that. So then we have this new section, or this next section for your new members. We just added this in here because MemberClicks knows how important it is to contact those people who have recently joined with you quickly and frequently, just to kind of make them feel like included and part of the membership, making sure they know their benefits and all that kind of good stuff. So same thing from here. You can click into the number that populates in here. It'll take you to that profile list, and you can contact them from that list in our contact center. And I'm going to show you how that's used here shortly. Okay? Our next is our event dashboard. This is just going to show 3 past events, the date that they were held on, and how many attended. And then our upcoming expected event attendance will show the next 3 upcoming events, the dates that they are supposed to be on, and how many have registered so far. This section will pull from your forms. So anytime you create a new event in your forms category, it's going to pull right into here just to give you a snapshot of how many people you've got attending your events.
Okay. If we should, and then if we want to look at past events, I think you mentioned to us at another time that we can do that.
Yes.
Our other past events.
That's exactly right.
Not on the dashboard. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. This is just all kind of like a snapshot of what you've got going on. We'll be able to search way more in detail for everything that we've got in the system.
I didn't. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. So next, the last dashboard area we have is our financial dashboard. So we have aged receivables. This is going to show any outstanding invoices you have by how much money that is outstanding and how many days the invoices past due. So to kind of show you a real-life example using our MemberClicks side of things, going back to our home page, You'll notice in this case we've got kind of a bar graph that's starting to populate in here. We've got $200 in current money. We have 31 to 60 of $250 outstanding, meaning it's been the invoice is outstanding 31 to 60 days, and then we have 91 plus day outstanding invoices for $965. So this is just a great snapshot to see the outstanding money that you have in your system.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have the sales over time. So right now yours is just a flat line, but as invoices are created and your revenue accounts are assigned, you can actually filter your revenue accounts. So in this case, a lot of the things you're going to see in here, by the way, are just really silly because it is the MemberClick site and we're always playing around in here. But for instance, the membership dues. So if we wanted to look at how much money we've brought in membership dues per month, then we could take a look just by filtering that revenue account. Now you can see we've got $500 that we've collected in membership dues in January, which is the case for most people since most associations have fiscal year expiration dates. Okay. Do you guys have any questions over anything on this dashboard area?
No, not on that.
Nope.
Oh, one real brief quick thing. Say we have a member in good standing and all that. Then he passes away. Do we just change him to like a lapse so we don't send him stuff and all that? Because we don't want to be rude to his estate, you know?
Right. We actually have a deceased status that you can change them to.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that, I would assume that would stop sending them items.
Yeah, okay. And so that may or may not show up somewhere on the dashboard.
We don't have a specific category for it, but I'm going to show you how you can search your database and how you can search in the database for those members.
Right. Well, I understand we can do that. I'm just wondering if you look at our little summary dashboard, if they would show up there.
Yeah, that's not a category that we've added here yet. However, we are adding a pending category that's new. And the pending is if you have any member types in our case. I don't know if this would apply to you guys, but if you have a member type that requires approval before they can become a member, then they would be in a pending status. So you are going to see that pop up probably on your dashboard in the next couple weeks as like a new added thing. So deceased could be another thing that may be next that they're going to add, and it's constantly kind of changing with requests.
Is what I was thinking.
Say that again?
Inactive is what I was thinking instead of
inactive. Yeah, that's a great idea, and I'll look, and we have like a product category or product site that I can go into and see if that's already been kind of suggested, and if not, I'll add it in there because I think an inactive would be an awesome category to have in here. And the reason they may not have that is because anything that's up here in this top area, these are custom profiles that are being used. And so for an inactive member, technically you might want to throw them in your prospect category so that they're no longer taking up a custom profile.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Okay.
Gotcha. Yep. Makes sense.
Okay, wonderful. Speaking of, the profile amounts and limits that you have, next we're going to peek at your settings, and we're going to look at your account settings. So this is a great place to come and look to see how many custom profiles you've taken up. Right now we've only used 3 out of the 1,000 custom profiles that you have available to you, and right now we've used 0 of the 3,000 prospect profiles that we can use. But this is definitely a great place to take a look and see at where you are with how many profiles are being used. Another great thing to remember about this specific page is after you guys have graduated and you've moved into using the help team for your first point of contact, they're going to ask you for an account number, so you can always grab that account number right here. You don't have to memorize it or write it down or anything. It's always going to be in your site under settings and account settings.
Okay. So just under the account information, very near your mouse, what is the ASA? ASAs?
An ASA is what we call a super admin. That's what I call it. And that just means that you have full access to the back end of the site, and those are the people that can call into the help team after you've graduated with me for any questions that you have.
Okay, so right now, Mary, I filled out this saying, knowing that Mary Kroger-Reich was going to be doing the majority of our once we graduate, she's going to do most of the activity, but maybe not all. So I felt like I needed to be an admin and Mary. But what if we wanted to add a third meeting, Jeff? Does what what would we do to get that to happen? Is there a fee or is there anything?
So there is an additional fee, but there is this little loophole. And if you can graduate within 60 days of opening your account with us or becoming active with us, then you get a third ASA for free.
Okay. And our 60 days is the end of November?
9/27 is when you became active, so that means that 8/27, 9, 10, 11/27 would technically be, right, 11/27 would technically be the day that you'd have to be graduated by. Since that's a Sunday, we might be able to push it to the 28th.
Okay.
But that means that we have to move a little bit faster
Right.
if we can. But there is a fee, and I can have my billing reach out to you with how much that would cost.
Okay.
Here, your time zone, y'all are on the Eastern time zone. Your membership year technically would begin like January 1st. And I went ahead and left this area toggled on. So this is for your members to have member numbers. We can permission these off so your members don't even know they exist. However, I like to leave this toggled on because it makes importing your members easier.
Good.
You are using QuickBooks, is that right?
Yes.
Now, I don't know if I received this email from you or not. I might have, but we do need some type of email address in the system. So any automatic email that comes out from the system, if your member wants to respond, they need an email that they can respond to, like maybe an administrative email. Do you guys have something like that?
We do.
What would
It's
that be?
CPI Administrator.
Don't laugh at me. I can't spell to save my life.
I always have to do it 3 times.
Did I get it?
Administrator, yes, at.
Oh, okay.
And then the numerals 3001.us is in Sam. That's it.
Awesome. Wonderful. So that's where those emails will go to when they respond to the automatic notifications that come from the system. Okay?
Yes.
All right. And lastly, this is just the billing contact information for member clicks to have on file.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Do you have any questions over those account settings?
No.
Okay, wonderful. So then the next thing we're going to take a peek at are your financials. So, and I know we're kind of skipping around tabs today. I apologize. So we're just going to move over to financials and invoices. And from here, this is where when your invoices are created in the system, they're all going to show up right in here. So it's going to look just, whoops, not that. It's going to look just like this. So you'll be able to see all invoices, whether they're paid. You'll notice that we'll have a status category showing paid, open, the organization that your members are associated with, their last name, first name, the type of form that it is, the invoice number, as well as the total amount, when the invoice is due, and then you can view or void the invoice from here. Something else I want to point out is you can view an invoice by clicking the invoice number. It's going to show you open. Now this is how your invoices will appear to your members. Of course, it's going to have your association information in the top left-hand corner, and it'll be your logo in the top right-hand corner. You'll notice if somebody pays you with a check, you'll be able to come into the invoice and pay the invoice either with their credit card information. So if it's just an offline and they want you to apply their credit card information, you can do that. Or you can do an offline payment using the check number that they sent to you. Okay. I also want you to note this notes category on this invoice. It's in a weird place, and you have the freedom to update whatever notes you want to put in this field on any of your invoices. So remember that this is kind of in a funky place, and I'm going to show you where you can do that at.
Okay.
Okay. When you go into an invoice, you can also view your member's profile from the invoice. So if you want to look at maybe more about this person or more about this member, you could go view profile and it would show you more about them. Some other things you can do in here is you can email your invoices. So if you wanted to tag one of your invoices, you could email it to whatever email this person would have on file in their profile. You can create a PDF, print it out so you can mail it through the mail. You can void, and then you also have the opportunity to sort. So if I click this paid selection, it's going to only show me all of the paid invoices. If I click this open, it's going to only show me all the open invoices.
Mhm.
And then we can also filter by invoice type.
Okay.
You also
Perfect.
have the opportunity to search your invoices.
All right.
Okay. Does that make sense, everything in here?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. So now kind of moving over to the next icon. So this icon would be the invoice list if you wanted to get back to this page, but this is also going to be the default page it's going to bring you to whenever you select financial and invoices.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The next item that we're going to peek at together, is going to be your invoice template. So I went ahead and created a default invoice template. I am going to assign this kind of as a piece of homework for you guys. So what this is you're setting up some custom settings for your invoices. The reason we need different invoice templates is because we already have some notifications set up in your system for dues. So for your dues, you'll notice down here for this invoice template, we have some additional notifications that can go out from the system. We don't need to use these for your dues since we have that whole notifications area dedicated to that. However, you may want some notifications to go out for an event or for a donation or something like that, in which case you would want to create an additional invoice template, maybe called events or maybe called donation or whatever the invoice template's for. And in here,
Uh-huh.
you'll be able to set up an email to go out letting your member know that they have a new invoice open, reminding them to open or to pay their invoice 1 to 7 days before the invoice is due, that the invoice is 10 to 45 days past due, or lastly, you have the ability to just set up this payment notification. So once they pay the invoice, they'll be receiving this email letting them know that they've paid. So in order to set any of these up, you would just toggle it on, go into edit the email, and add any verbiage that you would want to be sent out in that automatic notification.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
Great.
So I'm just going to pause here for a moment to ask Jeff a question, Adrian, if I may.
Of course.
So we would use that for things like the wine tasting. We could use that, but typically we don't routinely have a purpose for that, right? Did anything come to your mind?
Um, we can have situations where that would apply.
Like books, would the books
Yeah,
we buy for them? Would
stuff
that be
like
one?
that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are. I mean, I have a couple different templates I use already for certain things.
Okay.
So,
So you'd use that. Okay. Thanks, Adrian. Back to you.
Of course. Awesome. So then a couple other things I want to point out that you can set in here is the net due date for the invoice. So it can be anywhere from 50 to 90 days due from the time that the invoice is created. 30 days is typical, so that's why I just set that up. And now if you'll think back to a second ago when I asked you to note where that notes field was on the invoice, you can update that in the footer information here.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that this is called footer information because to me that just is confusing. It should just be consistent and be called notes, but for whatever reason it's called footer information.
Okay.
But that will be that notes section. So if you do have people that donate, you could add in here if this was specifically for donations. Thank you so much for your donation. This is what you've done and this is how you're helping us out. Something like that.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next thing, so this just coming in here and setting up any additional invoice templates would just be something that I would ask you guys to do, and I'm going to recap that in my follow-up email as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The next thing we can look at are our invoice settings. So your logo will be right here, and this is what's going to pop in on the invoice.
Right.
I have organization information, which I'm going to go ahead and plug in here for you. This is just going to be your information that pops up there on the left-hand corner, if you remember where that was on the invoice. And then lastly, we can decide what invoice number we want to start on. Most associations just start with 1. However, you can start with 1,000, 10,000, or just pick back up where your last invoice left off.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you also use alphabetic characters in that field?
I have not been asked that question. Enter the number to be given to the next invoice. The number entered can only be higher than the current number. I think that it only has, I think in this case it has to be numbers. I don't think that we can do, because the
Like
system
MC what?
automatically,
Okay.
right, I think it has to be just numbers because the system's going to automatically create the next one. And in this area, I do not believe that it can recognize special
Some
characters or.
software does that, and it'll still increment and count, but it'll just leave those first couple alpha characters in there.
I'll ask and
Yeah.
I'll update you and let you know what I find out.
Thanks.
It's a good question. Can be letters. Okay, great. So then the next is our revenue account. So this is where I'll add in any revenue accounts. Right now I've just got dues and events in here. To add a new revenue account, we would just select add new revenue account. From here we would name it whatever we may want to, an example could be maybe conferences. Whoops.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say big money from donors.
Ah,
Anyway.
revenue.
Do you guys have a donors revenue account?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So then we would ask ourselves, is this for dues or is it not for dues? In this case, donors is not. So we would leave this toggled off and we would save. And now we've created that revenue account. So it's pretty easy peasy in here.
Sure. Yep.
Can we change the word dues to tuition, or does it? It doesn't need to be because these are.
Well, dues, we have dues, and we can add
Okay,
tuition.
we do.
Yeah,
Okay.
or we can even maybe want to add tuition. And I don't know if you have additional, in terms of the data it's going to accumulate or collect, say, in the general ledger there, are there additional fields to distinguish what type of revenue in more detail?
That's a great question. So what I would ask of you guys, if you haven't already done this, is to send me or just export me your revenue accounts from your QuickBooks that you're currently using and send them to me, and I'm going to add those in here.
Okay.
And I can distinguish sub-accounts by using a colon.
Okay, well, the reason I'm asking is because we have tuition, yes, but we also like to track it by the type of a course or program that tuition is for, of course.
Mm-hmm. So if you have sub-accounts in your QuickBooks for that, we would call it, like, an example would be like tuition and then maybe specialty course or whatever your course name is that you would want to.
Well, we use classes to distinguish. So it's similar.
Okay, I know that we have to handle classes a little bit differently. And, you know, I just got done taking a financial class here specifically on how we handle that. I think that we handle it the same way as we handle sub-accounts when I set it up in here, but I may have to double check.
That's what I would think, just based on looking at what you're doing and knowing how it works. That's how I would handle it.
Okay, great. And this is really awesome because you'll be able to pull your transaction report from MemberClicks. You can import it into your QuickBooks account and reconcile your accounts that way. So hopefully this will make that process a little bit shorter for you guys. Okay. And then lastly, we just have our payment processor, which we're going to want to set up after you've completed that information with Heart. You'll just put in your login credentials in this space, and that'll update that information into your Moolah payment processor. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any questions over any of these financial icons up here?
No.
Okay. No, we're good.
No.
Okay, wonderful. Now this next part I'm going to kind of zoom past, but we're going to revisit it after we've got everything kind of in here. So right now I want to show you your different member types and what I'm going to do to set up your member types. So I'm under database member types. Now you will most likely never have to do this, but I like people to know what I do and why I do it. So I'm going to set up some default settings and default notifications in here. This is just things like what invoice template do you want to use for this specific member type? What payment processor do we want to use? What revenue account do we want this money to go into? You guys are on a date-based financial year. And then Is that right? I didn't mess that up, did I? And then, yes. Yeah. Oh, wait. We don't have a membership year. So you're...
Well, really, yeah, when you ask membership year, we really work on an academic year.
For the
So
most part.
September 1 is the first date of our fiscal as well as our events.
Awesome.
So,
So it's 9/1 to 8/31, basically. It's everything we do,
right,
except for payroll taxes and such.
right.
Because they aren't
That's
flexible with us.
totally different. Yeah, right.
So
So,
technically, when your members, basically your members would expire September 1st. I know they don't technically expire, but we would need to set some type of date that their dues are due.
well, again, we don't have dues, but if to answer you the question, our year would be September 1 through August 31.
Perfect. Okay. I know it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
There we go. Great. So yeah, so I'm just going to be setting up all these. We're going to review these all again together. And then, do you guys have a grace period in place? I apologize if I've 12-month long grace period. I've got it right here.
12 months, please. Yes, I think that's appropriate.
Great. So yeah, so once we get your member types in place, we're going to review all of those settings for each of your member types. And then we also have your default notifications that I'm going to add in here. I know I have some of those already.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'll do is come in here and add each of your different member types. So I would just add their member type name, whether they're standard pricing or attribute-based pricing. So we're just going to set up all these things once kind of that database is complete. And then we'll re-review all of this stuff. We're also going to review how I'm going to set up your attributes. So right now, if I go underneath database and attributes, I know we've talked a great deal in attributes as far as built-ins, custom, and system, and the differences between the three. So built-in attributes are those things we have seen across the 1,600 associations we work with that we know you guys collect on your members. So we can't change any of these built-in attributes, but we can manipulate them a little bit, might be the right word. So what I can do is, under email addresses, you have the opportunity to collect up to 5 email addresses on your members. So maybe it's not home, but I can change this name to main. And then I know that you guys are collecting, I think I saw an alternate. So we can collect an alternate email address. And then we can also add things like housework, up to 5. And we call these labels. So this means you can store up to 5 different email addresses for one member in their profile.
Okay. But the any message is only sent with to the primary.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. We can do the same with your physical addresses. So this may not want to be home, it may just want to be main, and then we can do the same thing. We can add up to 5 physical addresses that we can collect on your members.
Okay.
Same thing with phone number. And then we come down here to our custom attributes. Custom attributes are going to make a lot of sense when we move into your forms training. Right now it's kind of, I think, hard to visualize, but for an example, if we wanted to add a custom attribute, I would just choose that green button, Add Custom Attribute. From here I can add one of these. So like it looks like somebody for APP could choose any of these different selections.
Right.
So if we wanted to save this information, what I can do is create my attribute name, which is called APP. And then I can choose what type of information I'm collecting. So some of these are intuitive, and we're going to review these definitely again. But if you're wanting to collect a country, you would choose country. If it's a date or time, like maybe their birth date, we would choose date. If you want them to upload a file, such as a resume, we would choose file. If we want them to upload an image, such as their logo, we would choose image. If we want to upload a number, it's just strictly a number, we can choose number. APP would be a great example of a selection set. So from here, we would choose selection set. Down here, we can add the different selections that they can choose from. So in this example, they could choose, choice 1. We can add that. choice 2, we can add that, and choice 3. Now, in this instance, can they only choose one, or could they choose more than one option?
Just one.
Okay.
Do one of those.
One of the 3. So we can either, if you notice here, this is an example of the way it'll look. Right now they can only choose one, but we can change this. So there's a single selection, meaning they can still only choose one, but it's a drop down. But then we have somewhere they can choose multiple selections, such as the check boxes. So now all 3 can be selected, or 2, or 1. And then we also have a multiple selection box, where they can choose 1, 2, or 3. Okay, and we're going to review all of the custom attributes I set up for you in your system so that you know how they were created, why they were created, all that kind of good stuff. Now, after everybody's been imported, attribute security is going to be another homework item. I'm not going to dive into this today because we're kind of running short for time, but we're going to get there together as well. And don't worry that we're skipping over some stuff. I have a list at the end that we're going to review together just to double check that all of this stuff has been done. Okay?
Right. Okay.
Now, the last thing that I want to review is just your profile list. You also have this green question mark, which will take you to the Resource Center. That's going away shortly from my understanding, and I think there's going to be like a blue question mark. I saw it earlier, and I cannot remember where. Oh, I see. I know why. It's because I'm in my... Give me just a second. I'm logged in as me, so it's... The Resource Center, here it is, that blue question mark. Anytime you select this, I think it's going to go into effect tomorrow. Right now, you can select the green one and you can see it'll take you to the Resource Center. Once you've graduated, this is also where you'll submit a request to our help team.
Okay.
And we're going to review this 20 million more times as well together because this is obviously a really important piece because you, after graduation, need to know how to reach out to that help team.
You actually sent us that link and named it a video when I kept looking at this link and it's like, gosh, this doesn't look like a video. I don't know where the video is. But anyway, we found your videos separately, but I have seen this already.
Oh, well, good. Yeah, so some of those links, we actually just updated this Resource Center. It looked a little bit outdated, like literally maybe 2 weeks ago. It looked totally different. Some of the links that I had saved prior to did not save over the way that they needed to. So if you see that again, please holler at me and let me know so I can update that to the link it needs. I tried to check most of the ones I've saved, but I might have missed a few.
Yeah, well, anyway.
So that's
You found it.
I did. I found, well, yeah, Mary found the videos, so she's been watching the videos. And, but I said, that link, there's just no video on there. I can't find it. So anyway, now you've explained it, so thank you.
Well, good. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, coming into MemberClicks documentation, the center button, you'll find all of the different links and videos in here.
I looked at those.
Awesome.
I mean, this is a helpful page. I did look at some of this stuff. Yeah.
Wonderful. If I have a question or if there's something I don't know, 9 times out of 10, I just come in here and find a resource video on it.
Okay.
And these are really helpful.
And that was again under the question mark. What will be the blue question mark, correct?
That's exactly right. From my understanding, tomorrow this blue question mark will be where you'll find that resource center. And I think the way it's supposed to work is it should take you.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay. So then this is going away, but then we have some other icons up here like our search. So we can search by names, organizations, or emails. It's going to bring up a list of your members, and we'll look through how we can use that more together after everybody's imported as well. And then lastly, we can go to our profile list, and this is going to take you to all of the members that you have in your database, which right now is just these, you two. From here, we can use our advanced search function to narrow down who we're looking for. So earlier I mentioned you can mark people deceased, and you can just search your deceased members.
Okay.
We can also search any of the attributes that we upload in the system. We can search form submissions. And we have a little bit of event management that we can do as far as you can mark people if they do come or do not come to an event. You can mark whether they were there or not. or they were a no-show, whichever it could be, and you'll be able to search your members by that piece as well. And you can save searches, so if you have one search that you use often, then we can just save it so you're not having to come back in here all the time, and it'll actually be located right under this Manage Save Searches area in this list. Lastly, once you find the list of members that you want to contact and you have their profiles tagged, this Actions button will become available. From here, we've already talked about how you can change their status. You can change their member type. You can add to groups. So those are those groups that set permissions. We can remove from groups. So this is how you could add people to that board of directors group. You can delete profiles. You can always undelete profiles. You can contact. This is going to take you to the contact center, and we're going to dive further into this in our content training next time we're together. You can export. This is going to export those members in an Excel document so you can analyze them a little bit further. And then lastly, we can create an ad hoc invoice. So that would be an invoice that you would need to create on the admin side, something the system didn't know to create, but maybe you sold. I think you guys have talked about books or something. You could create an invoice, send it to that member to pay for that
And
invoice.
that's all under Actions, correct?
That's exactly right, under this Actions tab. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was kind of pressed for time to get through this area, and it's kind of hard to visualize without having your members in here. So once again, we're going to touch on all of this kind of one more time after your members are imported into the system.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that concludes my training, and I do have a call I need to jump on at 3, but I would like to go ahead and schedule our next training together if you guys would be able to do that.
Mhm.
Um,